Today we have on the podcast Austin Scott. Austin is an actor currently residing in New York City, having starred in films such as Prep School and They Found Hell. He has also been seen off-Broadway in One Day the Musical and the widely popular creation of Lin-Manuel Miranda, Hamilton, where he starred in the lead role of that show as Alexander Hamilton. Austin has since starred on hit FX show Pose and recently transitioned to a new lead role in the Broadway play Girl from the North Country. We are very excited to have him on today and talk about pursuing his passion from a very young age. All right, we got Austin here live in the flesh. How are
you? I'm good. Thank you so much for having me on.
For sure.
Definitely.
Thank you for coming on. You were a big fish to catch to get on here, dude.
Well, got little few things to do here and there, but now I got some time. I'm so glad that I'm so glad we could do this. I'm glad we could.
I know. I feel like I was thinking about it earlier. I was like, man, it's probably been like 5 years since I've actually talked to you, not just like over Messenger and know, like that.
Right.
So it's good to see your face, man.
Likewise.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Oh wait, what's that? No, you go on.
So tell me how everything's kind of been going with with everything, the whole shutdown of everything. You're in New York, right?
Yeah, so I'm actually out of them right now. My girlfriend Alexa and I, we left New York about a week ago.
Okay.
Just like things were getting kind of crazy, and my show was shut down, and her job got shut down too. So we just her parents invited us out to just kind of hang out at their place for a little while up here in Vermont. So we've been hiking and just chilling out here. But yeah, man, it's been crazy. All our way everything down, as it is in a lot of places in the country. And yeah, we're all just kind of in a holding pattern, waiting to see what happens, when the shows might get up and running. And if that doesn't happen for a while, like some shows may not be able to come back. And so, it's a crazy time.
Yeah, it's scary.
Wow.
I mean, tell me, how that works with, I don't really know how it works with Broadway. It's like, are you guys like a union so you can still file like unemployment, or can you still get some type of pay while all this is going on?
So we do have a union, and the union so there's a union for the actors working on Broadway, and there's a union for like the carpenters and the tech folks and like the dressers and the wardrobe department. So there's separate unions, but they've all been in meetings basically since the shutdown happened with the Broadway producers and all of that, trying to work out a deal to get us paid, because there was no clause. Like the only clause that was in the union contract said that like we wouldn't get paid if there was a force majeure event, which could be like an act of God or act of nature or something like that. But there was nothing to cover this length of a shutdown.
I know. It's such a random. It's such
there's no precedent for it. So they totally had to rewrite the rule book basically. And so they did come to an agreement just a couple of days ago, which said that we're going to get paid through the end of this month. But if the closure extends beyond that, which it probably will, then just going to have to come up with a new deal as it goes. It's just like everyone's just working it out as it goes. But
that's super crazy.
Yeah. And of course, everyone's been
No, go on.
Saying that everyone's been trying to, sign up for unemployment in the meantime while we're waiting for that decision. But, everyone in the country is trying to get on that. So it's really, they're overloaded.
Oh yeah, I tried doing that yesterday, and the site was actually just completely frozen just because the overload of traffic. Yeah. But yeah, me and Roland were talking about it. We had an interview yesterday. This is a historic time,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, my mom was talking to my little sister, and she was like, you know what, Bella, you should write down what's going on right now, because this time is so crazy.
Right. It's about to be. From this point forward, it's going to be like America pre-COVID and like America post-COVID. You know what I'm saying? And like all the books and everything. So, yeah, we're living through a pretty monumental time.
All right. Yeah, that's what's crazy for me. With being just an independent contractor, it's like I have my deals that are going right now that are thankfully going to close, but other than that, dude, we're on total halt. No more showings, no more open houses, anything like that. So
exactly.
But we're all still super blessed to have roofs over our head, and
absolutely.
It's
a good opportunity to do stuff like
Yeah, yeah. I
To,
mean, dude,
to get to do stuff like this and stay creative and, connected and all of that.
right.
Definitely.
Me, it's been all home projects and like trying my hardest to do like home workouts and not
Right.
eating too much junk food. I feel like I've already
Right,
gained
right,
weight.
right. I feel it. I
Yeah.
feel it. Yeah, I got my exercise bands and been doing the squats and all that.
All right, cool. So we usually like to kind of kick off the podcast by you talking about your upbringing, how you got
Yep.
your start in acting and kind of where it's led you to where you are now.
Yeah, man. So I started really, really young. I think probably the very, very beginning was I was in kindergarten. There was in the Bay Area, my kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Cole, she brought in this voice teacher. She came in, she was teaching music and stuff like that. And she said that I had perfect pitch. And she was like, I think you'd be really good to join, this children's choir that I have called Rowena. And so I joined that. And then like sometime during that, I started taking classes at this place called John Robert Powers, which was like, on camera work and all that stuff. So that was all when I was like 5 or 6. And then just, kind of my parents were always really supportive. They would like take me to auditions and stuff like that. And so I did a few things, kind of coming up when I was really young. And then I would say I more or less, I was still active all throughout high school, but it wasn't really until after high school that I got my first like official, manager and agent. And I moved down to LA and I really kind of hit the ground, running. But yeah, I mean, I think I started pretty young and it was all throughout my childhood that like my parents were kind of, we were learning the ins and outs of the business and all of that stuff. So
Yeah, because I remember like I think it was in middle school. It was like Dallas or somebody was like, hey, he was like, dude, Austin's in commercials. I was like, wait, for real? Like, and you were in that Chia Pet commercial. And like, it's crazy how, how did that that stuff like that and stuff like that come about? You know what I mean? Because was it your parents kind of like a little bit pushing you, or was it just like something you always kind of had it in your own will?
No, I think I always had it in my own will. Also, shout out to Dallas. No, I never felt a push from them. I think if anything, like they were just very observant and supportive. You know what I'm saying? So it's like as things materialize, like if I would start to go in one direction and they could see that I had a knack for it, that I really enjoyed it, then they just did everything they could to support that. So it's like they never were really pushing me. They were just always there to like lift me up and support me. Which obviously was a massive blessing and a huge. Gave me a huge leg up.
Absolutely.
As I started to build my career.
Yeah.
So after high school, you moved to LA. Was it like every like actor's type of thing where like you're struggling in LA, or how did it go for you?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I think I was there for probably 2.5 years, maybe before I moved to New York. And I think that period of time in LA was mostly just me learning. It's like I came to LA knowing a fair amount about the business, but it's like the business in the industry in Northern California and San Francisco is nothing compared to LA or New York. So, like I said, I had done I was like an extra on Pursuit of Happiness, and I did some commercials, and, I did a bunch of independent films and some community theater and all that stuff. But when I went to LA, it's like, that was the big time, you know what I'm saying? So I was just learning, I learned kind of how to stand up for myself with regards to, my agents and my managers, and how to, listen to my own intuition and not just what other people were telling me. And, I did some TV movies while I was out there. And just, I think I just learned a lot about what it was like to be on professional film sets and, how to work in the industry. So then by the time I moved to New York, I feel like I was really ready.
Nice. And during that time, did you ever feel like, what, I might give up, this isn't going the way I planned it to be?
Oh yeah, I think many times I was like, okay, if I don't hit, this, I know the podcast is called All Things Success. And, success is an objective term, right? Because it's like, I think throughout that time, I was always like, okay, if I'm not quote unquote successful by, year 3 or by 2018 or whatever, then I think I got to just, drop it and focus on something else. So I kept giving myself those time windows, and what my criteria for success was constantly changing. Like for a while, it was like, okay, I got to be able to fully support myself only by, acting or only by performing, or, then it became, well, okay, I need to be in in a film that reaches this many people, or, you know, it just kept changing. And I think I set like a 3-year period, and I think pretty much by the end of that 3-year period was like right when I booked Hamilton. So
Wow.
I just kind of got in there.
Wow. Yeah. And we call this, right, all things success, right? But there's so many different people that we've had on the show, and there's so much different versions of success to us. You know what I mean? Like people who run nonprofits. There's so much different stuff. So we really didn't want this podcast to be just about like, you know, money success or fame success or whatever it may be. You know?
Right. I love that.
So going back to you in college, because I remember still seeing you, you know, just here and there, like a party or whatever it may be.
Right.
While you were going to college, you went to SF State. So what was like your objective with that? Were you still going, like, was your goal still being like, okay, I'm going to make this happen? Or was like college kind of like, okay, this is my backup kind of time?
You know, so I actually still haven't graduated from college. I've got like 2 semesters left
That's awesome.
to be fully graduated. But yeah, so I did 2 semesters at SF State right after high school. And like during that time, I mean, I wasn't in like a performing arts program or anything like that. I was just kind of getting my general education done. And in the meantime, I was like, that's when I shot Prep School, which is like one of my first, you know, bigger independent films. And, you know, I was meeting with casting directors. And so it's like, I was definitely still working and like trying to figure out where I was going to be long-term. I was considering moving straight to New York, and, you know, I was thinking about LA. But yeah, during that time was when I met this casting director, Paul Reddy from LA, he's the one who really kind of suggested that I move down there, and he set me up with my agents and my managers and all that. So I definitely was still thinking that was my career path at that time, but it's like, it was very much a developmental, like, you know, trying to decide which direction I was going to go into.
Yeah, and that's got to be tough because, like, I'm sure growing up, right, you watch so many movies, everybody's just like, oh, I want to go straight to movies. You know, I know you always did so many plays growing up, right? So
yeah,
was Broadway that, like, did you always have that in the back of your mind of like?
Absolutely. I think from Jump Street, I just tried to keep both doors open, you know, at all times. And so it's like, I think stage and musical theater came about largely because I'm also a singer, and I started singing really young, so that was an opportunity to act and sing. You know, whereas films are primarily just acting. But I was always just kind of like, you know, whichever one of these doors opens up wider first, you know, like that's the one I'm gonna step through. And so again, while I did do some film and TV work along the way, at some point it became pretty clear that like Broadway and pursuing that avenue was going to be probably my into the industry. And then I figured, okay, I was looking at all these actors like Denzel Washington and Hugh Jackman and Viola Davis, and, you know, all these incredible actors who got their start on Broadway and, you know, in theater, and then they kind of, you know, used that to springboard into film. So that kind of became my plan. And is still my plan. You know, I haven't. The thing about a lot of Broadway shows, though, is that you get the contracts lock you in, so you can't always do much work outside of, you know, while you're doing the shows. So it's like, haven't had a ton of time to audition since I started Hamilton like 3 years ago. But I feel like, you know, I'm starting to get into it more now.
Yeah, because I remember seeing one of your stories on Instagram recently where you're like, you know, answering people's questions. And you were like saying what your day is like, you know, when you were still doing Hamilton, and it was like, it sounded really intense. Like you were like basically 7 days a week, and you're like, I do this, I do that, I do this, and I do my warm up, and you know what I mean? I was like, damn.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, Hamilton especially, like that show period, but then the role of Alexander Hamilton, it's really intense, and any actor who's played it can tell you that, especially on tour, right? Because, you know, we're out there and it's like we're, you know, the company and the cast are pretty much all we know in these cities that we're going to, you know, and so we get really close with them. But, you know, it's a very high endurance, both physically and emotionally, high endurance show. And yeah, took a lot to kind of keep my body and my mind right, to do that show, you know, 7 times a week. But I always go ahead.
Was there ever a point where you got sick, and what is the process like of that? Where you have your stand-in, but you built such a following with that role, right? So I'm sure if somebody, you came there and like so many people are so stoked to see you as Alexander Hamilton.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing about live theater, right? Is like you get sick or you get injured, and like you do your best to press through for sure, because for that reason. But sometimes you can't. Sometimes you just gotta sit down and let yourself recover. But yeah, it was always hard if I'd ever have to miss a show. It's like I'd always get a few messages just being like, I saved up for years, and like,
oh my God,
or whatever.
Wow.
And like that's a lot of pressure. But luckily, like all the covers for all the productions were just phenomenal.
Yeah,
so like a lot of the messages would be like, I'm bummed I didn't get to see you, but Edgewood was really, really great.
Right.
So it's like,
right.
There was never a big, it was never like a huge letdown, but yeah, it's hard. It was a lot of pressure,
I bet. So what would you say your turning moment was of like realize, like that, just that huge feeling of satisfaction of like, oh my gosh, like, I feel like I reached that next level. What do you think?
Yeah, that was the day that I booked Hamilton for sure.
Nice.
I mean, that was, again, like it had been from the time, that I graduated high school, maybe even earlier, it had been a series of like, small step ups. Like I'd book a film or a little tiny thing on a TV show or something like that. And it was like, oh wow, this is, I've climbed up a rung on the ladder. But that day I got the phone call that said I'd booked a tour of Hamilton, because I did the tour before I did Broadway.
Yeah.
That was, that just felt like I got to jump up like 20 rungs on the ladder,
Yeah. So take us through that day of like, your celebration. Who did you call? Like, who was the first one you called? What did you do that day?
So, I mean, that it was a crazy time, because I actually was, I was in final callbacks for another Broadway show, called, it was the revival of My Fair Lady. It was a revival of My Fair Lady. And so I was in final callbacks for both Hamilton and this. And it's like there was a phone call every single day with my agents just being like, all right, word from casting is that, they really, really like you from this. And, Lack and Lynn and all of them, those are the creatives for Hamilton. Like, they really, really like you, but, so does My Fair Lady. So we're just kind of keeping both options open. And then it got down to this point the day when I actually got the call for Hamilton, my agents were like, it's getting too tight. We have to make a call. We have to either decide that we're going to pursue My Fair Lady and then just, kind of step away from Hamilton because it had been a long process, or, we let go of My Fair Lady and just hold out for Hamilton. And so that was kind of the place that I was in, where I was just like trying to make up my mind and
that's super tough.
Figure that out. And then I got the call while I was like on the train, going down to like the park, Central Park, or something, just like clearing my head. I got this call, and my agent was just like, well, you don't have to make a decision anymore, because you're going to be Alexander Hamilton.
Wow.
And I got off the train. I was in Harlem, and I was just like running up and down the streets. I was like yelling. I called my girlfriend. I called my parents. I called my acting teacher. Like, and, of course, they were like, okay, you don't start rehearsals for like a month and a half, and you can't tell anybody. It's like on lockdown.
Wow.
And actually, I wasn't allowed to tell anybody till I actually started my first performance, which was in January, and I found out in like October. So literally for 2 months, like I had to just sit on it. Yeah, and it was like, this is the biggest moment of my life, and like
no family or nothing.
They said nobody, but I mean, it was pretty. It was pretty clear.
Yeah.
Your close circle is fine. Just like don't post about it. Don't talk to any news outlets. Don't do any of that. So that was really hard, just having to like, wanting to take pictures and post, my first day of rehearsal and all that stuff. And I couldn't. So
that's crazy. So with Hamilton, people who don't even know Broadway knows Hamilton, it's such like critically acclaimed. How is that like quote unquote fame or notoriety? How have you been handling that? Like I was looking at your Instagram earlier and I'm like, ooh, blue check. Okay.
Yeah. It's cool, because I think I've never, I'm sure everyone says this and people call bullshit or whatever, but I genuinely feel this. Like I've never really cared about fame. Like that hasn't been my driving force. Like I've just been going after fulfillment and feeling good. But doing that show and just seeing, every day after the show, like, you go outside and there's like 100 people in line, right, waiting for autographs and wanting to tell you about it. of the show, and just seeing what it meant to them. You know what I mean? And you know, again, people saying like, I've been saving up for 3 years for this, or, you know, this musical, like the soundtrack really got me through, you know, a hard time, or something like that. Or like seeing somebody up there, like, you know, talking to a lot of kids of color, and just being like, I didn't know that, you know, I could play roles like this, you know, so seeing you up there is just like changed my life. Like that was by far the greatest part about being Hamilton, was just like, you know, getting to connect with the people and seeing how much it meant to them, and like, you know, responding to Instagram messages after the show and all of that. So yeah, that was pretty incredible. And then like, yeah, obviously, you know, it definitely did something for my career. It opened up a lot of doors, you know, the notoriety or whatever, opened up a lot of doors. So that was absolutely the turning point for me.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I can really see the authenticity when you do say that, you know, you weren't ever in it just for, you know, for fame, or that's what you were craving or anything like that, because I feel like it's really, this has always been your passion. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And, you know, it's a tricky thing, because it's like the notoriety and the social media followers and all of that mess, like that is unfortunately a necessary business tool. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, the more followers you have, the more doors are open, the more people take you seriously in casting rooms and all of that. So, you know, it's definitely something that has to be on every actor, every performer, every, you know, public figure's mind. But yeah, it's never been the driving force for me. And I think, you know, I'm grateful that my parents especially like instilled that in me, you know, just like make it about the work, not about the, you know, the acclaim or whatever.
For sure.
Yeah.
So tell me, leaving Hamilton must have been a tough decision, you know?
Yeah.
So tell me what, you know, made you do this jump to this new show, you know, Girl from the North Country.
Right. So, you know, again, Hamilton was incredible. Everything about it was incredible. The people, you know, I mean, the people behind the scenes, the creatives and stuff, treated us so well.
Yeah.
They gave me so much freedom to work with the role. But at the same time, it was intense. You know, it took a lot out of me. I'd say that show aged me, you know, a good 5 to 10 years. So you know, by the time the option to do Girl from the North Country came up, I was ending my second year with the show. I was, you know, in negotiations to sign on for another year, and I was just having a hard time, you know, because it's like a lot of me just felt like I needed a break. I needed to change things up a little bit, but at the same time, you know, it's hard to leave something like that.
Of course.
But ultimately, it came down to I really, really loved the show, Girl from the North Country. I really loved the material. The chance to get to, you know, do Bob Dylan's music was amazing. The chance to originate a role, you know, was really, really attractive as well, because that, you know, doing Hamilton, as much as I got to put my own stamp on it, you know, that'll always be Lynn's role, right? You know, and it's like, he originated it, but this is a chance for me to actually like create something of my own. And, you know, again, it's from the business side of things, it's being in an original show means that you get to be in the award season, the Tony Award season, and, you know, you get a lot of big reviewers come out, so you get behind you. So it was a smart career move for sure, and I think it came at a time when I was ready to do something new.
Yeah,
I might go back to Hamilton someday, but for now, it was definitely the right move.
For sure. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. You got to do at least one show of Girl from the North Country, right? Before all this crazy
stuff. We got to do, we got, you know what, we got really lucky. I mean, because there's a lot of shows that were set to open within this period, and so they didn't get to open. But we got to open, we were in previews for a month. So we were doing shows for audiences for about a month, and then we opened, and we opened about a week before the shutdown happened. So yeah, we had about a month and a half, or, you know,
awesome.
of shows. And I mean, we got to get reviewed. You know, we got some really, really incredible reviews. We got to do some other things that I'm not allowed to talk about yet, but they'll come down the pike for sure.
For sure.
Nice.
But yeah, you know, we got to do Jimmy Fallon, you know, it's
crazy.
That was so much fun. So we really got a lot done before the shutdown. So I think, you know, all of that's going to be very helpful when it comes down to like reopening, you know what I'm saying? And that is definitely the plan. It's
almost like some pent up demand too, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Because, like I said, since we got to open, we got these reviews. A lot of people were talking about the show, so it's definitely this show that people are excited about, which, will hopefully then translate into.
Yeah, people are like itching out there probably to see you in that show and everything. Yeah,
absolutely.
Talk about Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah,
because that just transcends everything. You're on TV now, like
and I mean that was
on the stage.
That was definitely another one of those moments where it's like, whoa, this is the big stuff.
Yeah, pinch yourself type stuff.
Yep. This is like a life goal that I got to check off. It was great, man. He's about as kind as you'd expect him to be, and just like with us backstage before the show, and talking to us and all that before he got into makeup, and it's very much like it's this thing that they shoot, 7 times a week or however many times a week, and the Roots are just like chilling backstage.
Oh, wow.
That's a surreal, that's going to be a surreal moment too. It's just, Quest and
absolutely. Quest, I had met Quest because he saw Hamilton something like 45 times.
Oh, wow.
So he was a big Hamilton fan. So I'd already met him backstage at Hamilton.
That's awesome.
But yeah, like it's just a very just chill vibe back there. Like all the guests, I think it was Nick Jonas was there and Steve Coogan, and we just like everyone was just kicking it backstage. It was really, really cool. And yeah, the energy when those cameras started rolling and we were out there was just off the charts. And I do in the song that we performed, I do a sock slide across the stage from one microphone to the other.
I saw that.
When I tell you I was so nervous.
Yeah, just watching that like on.
Oh my gosh!
Do not let me fall on live television. Yeah. please. But at the same time, I was like, listen, if I fall, then it's going to go viral, and it's good publicity for the show. So it's a win no matter what.
Yeah, you either crush it or you crush it.
Exactly. I did not fall. So
no, but yeah, you actually absolutely killed that performance. That was awesome.
Oh, thank you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm a huge movie fan. If you could star in a movie with one person, who would that be?
It's a tough call. I've got about 4 or 5 actors that immediately come to mind, and it's a little hard to put them in order. I will say that I think my biggest like influence acting wise coming up was definitely Will Smith. I think I always, again, I got to hang out with him because we did Pursuit of Happiness, which shot in San Francisco when I was like, I don't know, 10 or something like that. So it's like from that, even before then, I was a big Fresh Prince fan, but like from that point on, I was just like, he was my dude. And like I emulated him a lot. Like I think, a lot of my like comedy and stuff kind of took after him.
Right.
So that would be incredible to get to, like work with him in a professional way. But, another actor that definitely comes to mind is like Viola Davis, Viola Davis, like if I got to work with her, or Meryl Streep, or Denzel Washington, like I think those are probably my top 4.
Okay.
It's hard to order them, but those are the ones that like, God, I just have so much respect for, and, getting to work with them would be like a huge learning experience.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Would you say that that's kind of what made you earlier on, high school days or whatever, that's kind of what made you start rapping, was Will Smith? Probably, honestly. Yeah. I think a lot of my style was heavily influenced by like, Summertime and a lot of his like early 2000s, 90s stuff. I always really dug his cadence and his style. So definitely tried to, I don't think I was consciously emulating him, but like you could just, I could always hear it in my work,
Yeah.
And it's funny, I was thinking about too earlier today when we had done some music stuff together.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, we had done the music stuff and it was one of my beats or whatever.
Right.
And, we ended up not releasing it because, your mom was not cool with what we had put on, not with what you had put on, but what we had put on. And I was thinking, wow, like where you're at now, like she had even the long-term vision for you. Cause I mean, think about that. Even where you're at now, like if something could have happened or where you kept going and if that was out, that could have possibly, you know what I mean?
It's true. I mean, yeah, she definitely did think that way. I didn't remember that that's how it went down. And that kind of sucks. We need to pull that out.
Because like that was such looking back on it, that's such an awesome thing that you had that. You know what I mean? That's
very true, though. Yeah, they were always looking out for me, and they had my like long-term interest in heart because they always believed in me for sure, and supported all of that work. So I'm very, very grateful for that.
Yeah. But I wanted to just touch on that because I thought that was super cool. Like really. Yeah.
I don't know, man. But at the same time, I do want to re-release that. Let's do it.
I got it somewhere.
Yeah, for sure.
So do you have any other exciting projects that you can talk about, currently coming up other than, I saw that you're making that TikTok transition?
Oh, TikTok. Yeah, it's so funny. I've been like, we just like, you know what, let's take this time to get TikTok.
Why not?
Like, oh yeah, it's because it's super easy. You're just like, get TikTok famous. Of course. No, I'm saying that jokingly.
Right.
Yeah, we're gonna make some videos and have some fun with that. But other than that, again, it's tricky because I'm on contract with Girlfriend.
Totally.
And I'm not actually allowed to do any other projects officially until like after July. So nothing big to talk about. However, the suspension has begun. Like I've been in communication with some people and just
nice.
kind of talking through some stuff. But yeah, nothing much that I can talk about it.
I got you. So literally, if someone would be like, hey, some producer was like, I really want you to come try out for this, or however it works, right? I don't know. You would like literally have to be like, I can't do anything until July.
If it was like a really big deal, I would probably my manager, my agents would then take it to the producers of Girl from North Country, and it would be on them to decide if they could let me out, or if it's basically balls in their court.
Yeah, it's like negotiation.
This is right. But I mean, before the shutdown happened, I mean, this is the time when, again, like the show's getting reviewed and the Tony Award voters are coming to the show and they're, casting their votes for like which shows get nominated and which actors get nominated. So it's a time when actors kind of disrespect that process and they don't try and leave, because it's just like, if you care about the show and if you're invested in it, and you want to do well and you want to be there for it. So, I haven't really been actively pursuing much, but I have been, there's been a few things I've been going out for and auditioning for and in the talks for that could come after, after my time.
Tell us how the appearance on Pose came about.
Oh yeah. So that happened after I was, my they call it outs in the contract. So it's like my ability to do other work kicked in for Hamilton. And so, I auditioned for that, just like one day before a show. I think I went and I auditioned, and that was just one audition, and I got to do it. But it was tricky because it was shooting right in my vacation window, and so when you do a show, you get 1 week of vacation every 6 months. And so it's like, it was this vacation that I've been planning, and, I was exhausted. I was, beat from doing 6 months of the show, really looking forward to like getting some sunshine. And then I booked this job, and it's like, to take the job would mean that I had to cancel the vacation. And, I wanted to go with my girlfriend, Alexa, and she couldn't do any other dates, other than that. And so, and like, so it's like, I was like, oh, do I take a vacation or do I do this? So that was a big stressful thing, but it eventually worked out where, they worked with me and I, was able to find another time where I could do my vacation. So I got to do both.
That's awesome.
But yeah, that was so much fun, man. It was really, like, everyone on that show was just like really loving and welcoming. And I was running in slow motion on a beach in a Speedo, which I've never done in my life. So, that was an interesting.
Yeah, you got a good little buzz off that. There were some people swooning for sure.
I mean, that was, again, that was another moment, because it was just like, I think it's funny even now, when they announced me for a Girl from the North Country, or like, anytime I'm doing a new project and like, the press talks about it, I'm always Pose actor Austin Scott. And I'm like, I was on that screen for like 15 minutes.
Right.
and I did Hamilton for 2 years, and,
right.
I'm a Pose actor now. Star of Pose. So that's, you never know. It's film is definitely, they reach such a large audience that often gets put above the theater.
So I've seen, you were mentioning people that you'd met backstage, on Jimmy Fallon, and obviously I've seen pictures. You meet people all the time. You met people, and I'm sure you're meeting people still. So many actors and stuff like that. Tell me what that's like when you're, are you kind of trying to build a connection with them? Are you just keeping it really civil? You know what I mean? Or
do you ever fan out? Like,
I mean, for sure. Oh God, there was one time when both Chris Evans and Dave Bautista came to the show at the same time, and Tom Hiddleston was like right down the street, and so it was like all of the Avengers were just like
just watched you perform.
Yeah. And like that, so that was definitely like a moment where, and as I do the show, like I ask everyone, I'm just like, I don't need to know who's here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't need to know.
Yeah. That's super smart.
I just don't want it to affect my performance, or, I just don't want to be thinking about that. So I usually don't know until like after, and they're like, yeah, so, by the way, so-and-so is here. That was a moment that was just really cool because, you asked about like, if I'm trying to build connections with them. I mean, I think the coolest thing is like, especially with Hamilton and with Girl from the North Country too, it's like these actors, when they come to see it, they're not like, oh, I'm hot shit. Like I'm a big deal, and
they're appreciating your art.
You're lucky. Yeah. It's like literally they're gushing too. It's like, we're sitting there with you like, yo, I'm a big fan of your work. And they're like, well, I'm a big fan of your work. And I'm like, that's insane.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And like, I mean, Tom Holland came to the show one time too, but that's thinking of Tom Felton, who plays Draco Malfoy. Like, I remember I clocked him during the bows when he came to see Hamilton, and he was just sobbing.
What?
Wrecked. And like he came back, and like he just like we just connected, and he's like, that was so moving, and like I can't believe like I'm getting to meet you, and like it was so great. And I was like, dude, like you're Malfoy. This is insane. So like, yeah, I mean, there's a few that I've kept in touch with since then, but I think it's the coolest thing is just like getting to like talk to these people as their peers.
Normal, like they're normal people.
Yeah, exactly. That's been so cool.
Yeah. Do you ever, this is something I always do, like, after, just in my area of work, I always ask for what I could do better or any advice for me. Do you ever ask stuff like that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you have to. That's the only way you grow, right? And I mean, sometimes like there were times with Hamilton where, again, I'd done it for 2 years, and like, every night, and just like really got kind of, felt like I knew the guy in and out. And so like every now and then there were some times when it's like I'd get a note, and my ego would kick in, and I'd be like, not like, oh, I don't, I shouldn't be getting notes, but just like I'd get defensive of what I did because I'm like, oh, I feel that's what he would do. But then I'd always just, have to check myself immediately and just be like, no, it's like you always grow, you're always deepening, you're always learning, and things like that. And so it's like I've done a lot of work personally to just like be very open to constructive criticism and ways that I could do better, ways that I can be better. Because that's the only way you grow. That's the only way you get better.
And you touched on ego. So tell me what that's been like with, I mean, you've always just been throughout me always knowing you, you've been the most genuine, nicest guy, right?
Thanks, man.
When all this has been taken off, how has that been to kind of combat your ego back down? And like, even just coming on this podcast, right? Like you didn't have to do this at all, no matter how much time you had. So tell me how that's been to kind of bring yourself back down in times that you've needed to, or whatever the case may be.
Oh, I mean, listen, I've told all my close friends and my family and everybody, I'm like, yo, if you ever see me getting a big head, like slap me upside the face. Like, like don't like that's, because I'm aware that it's that it's a slippery slope and it's possible to go down that road. And like, but again, like I had a really good upbringing. I got a lot of people keeping me grounded. Like I've never for a second felt like because I was Hamilton or because I'm on Broadway, because whatever that somehow like elevates me. You know what I'm saying? Like for me, it's just like they're just acknowledgements of like the hard work and the luck that I've been granted and all of these things. And like I'm always just trying to like do my best to live up to that and just to I guess be worthy of it. But yeah, no, I mean, it's like never forget where you came from, and it's like like you and me, we worked together
right
in the day on music, and we went to school, and like we were real close and school and all that. And it's like that's what it's all about. You know what I'm saying? It's like we like it's a community, and like we we connect and we collaborate and we lift each other up and, all of that stuff. And so, no, man, the minute I heard you had this podcast, I was like, oh, I'm there. Let's do it. I gotta get it cleared by the producers and stuff,
right.
but I'm there. I'm there.
I know, man. It was awesome. I really appreciate it. So,
of course, brother.
Tell me about your mentors. You talked a little bit about your coaches. So tell me,
right.
what those people have been like for you in your life, and kind of who you feel really took you to that next level, or kept you going.
So I mean, I really credit like all my groundwork, everything. I credit Tina Devon, who she's a Bay Area acting and singing coach, and I started working with her when I was like 13, I think. And she really she gave me all the foundational work for my singing and my acting and everything like that. And I worked with her, the entire time I was working in the Bay Area, and even a little bit, after when I moved to LA. So I really give her all the credit for that. And then, when I came to New York, my manager set me up with this coach out here named Joan Rosenfels. And I think she took what I had developed and what all my groundwork, and she just helped me deepen everything. She helped me really take it to the next level, along with like a vocal coach named Liz Kaplan. And so I'm really grateful to them, because I think, then they helped me just kind of like deep into that next level to be ready for things like Hamilton and North Country and Pose and all of that stuff. So
yeah. And then talk a little bit about your support team, your management team. Like who's kind of on, who are you on the phone with every day, daily, and kind of.
Right. So while I was doing Hamilton, I would say I had a support team of probably like 20 plus people.
Whoa.
Wow.
I had, so my main group is like, I've got Jeff Soffer, who's my manager. And then I've got KMR is my theatrical agents, and I've got commercial agents at CESD. But in each one of these, so like at KMR, for instance, they're bi-coastal. So there's a New York office and there's an LA office. And combined, I have about like 9 or 10 agents with them that work with me on various projects. So like, for instance, Hamilton was through my agent in New York named Jed, but then Pose was through my agent in New York named Alex. And then, the show I'm working on now, North Country, is through another one of my agents. So it's like when I get auditions, they're coming from one of my agents. So I'd say that, my representative group is probably like 15 people. And then beyond that, I've got like, my PT, my physical therapist, and I had a personal trainer for a while I was on Hamilton, and I had like 2 different vocal coaches, and I had someone who came in and did massages once a week, and I had I had a movement coach, and I had like a nutritionist, and I had so many people that were like keeping me together. And I think anybody working on Broadway or even in film and stuff would tell you that it's like, you see them up there, but it's like there's a team, there's a village behind it.
Village, yeah.
That's keeping them going and that got them there. So I don't for a second claim that it is 100% me. It's you know what I'm saying. It's
no, and I'm really glad I asked that
people
question.
That support me.
Yeah, I'm really glad I asked that question, because I had no idea it was that extensive at all.
Right.
And I'm sure so many other people don't.
Right. I mean, they work behind the scenes, and I mean, it's they obviously don't get the acclaim or whatever that the person that they're supporting does. But no, I mean, I would not be where I'm at without every single one of those people.
Now, is all that stuff coming out of your own pocket, or is that kind of negotiated in your contract with Hamilton and it's kind of coming out of production's pocket?
Right. It depends on the project.
Okay.
So, when I was with Hamilton, they were very generous and they covered a lot of it.
Nice.
But, depending on the budget of the project, it's like they can't always cover that, so it's like sometimes they'll give you a stipend and they'll be like, use this for, as far as it goes, and stuff like that. But if the budget is smaller, then it's like, you got to just kind of decide, okay, well then what can I afford out of what they're paying me to put towards this? Because it's all necessary. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's all necessary.
Tell me what social media is like for you. Do you have somebody that you have to consult with before you post something, or is it all you?
I don't. It's a way to go. And honestly, like if I did work with someone, then, you know, I would probably, my following would be bigger and, you know, I'd be much more engaged. But to be honest, I'm just not a big fan of it. I'm
I'm the same way.
I really, it's a business tool and it is a way to connect with my fans. And for me, that's it.
Yeah.
So I, you know, honestly, I don't put as much effort into it as I probably should or could. And, you know, I mean, maybe down the line, like next time I do, you know, something that's like high profile or, you know, as Girl from the North Country gets going again and gets picked up, I might start working with somebody. But yeah, for right now, it's all me. I will say that like my page probably would have no content if it weren't for my girlfriend Alexa, because she's
awesome.
constantly like taking pictures of me and she's helping me with captions and all of that stuff. But yeah, there's no like, you know, I don't have, because there are like social media experts and consultants that, you know, people work with sometimes.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
yeah, right now it's just me.
But I think that's awesome too, because it's natural, and that's really what in social media tends to get the most, you know, whatever you want to call it, engagement, followers,
Absolutely.
whatever. So
absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think, you know, again, because I don't love it on principle. I think it's important to keep it as authentic and as you know, as real as possible.
Yeah, but
I also feel like what's up? I also feel like your followers know when it's like forced, and you know they see all the filters. You know, it's the same thing, and they see like you're posting at a certain time, and it just comes off super fake.
No, and I think, you know, people who are fans of Hamilton or North Country or Pose, like I think what they want to see is like, you know, real life, and they want to see like behind the scenes, you know, like the pictures at the events and like, you know, me eating a hot dog at Coney Island, stuff like that. You know what I mean? It's like, I think that's what I know I would like to see from, you know, people that I follow and admire. So that's what I try to do.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, you know, about social media though, because I'd say to my fiance all the time, if I wasn't in my line of work, I probably wouldn't have social media. Like if it wasn't necessary for my line of work, I wouldn't need it.
Yeah.
And it's been super weird. Like I always was like, oh man, I don't want to get on video and like do this stuff, but you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes.
Right, absolutely. And also just quick friend moment, dude. Huge congrats on your engagement, man. I know I haven't gotten to talk to you since that happened, but
no. Thank you, man. I appreciate that a lot.
Of course.
What?
I'm with you.
What do you feel like we've kind of touched on this a little bit, but what do you feel like your main motivation for all your success has been?
Oh man. I mean, I think I already said it, but I would say just like fulfillment, you know. I've always wanted to feel like, you know, I'm doing what I love, and you know, I'm getting to basically just feel full, you know. I think that's been always what I'm chasing, and I think my dream has always been to like be able to make enough money to support myself doing what I love, and you know, my loved one, my family, and you know, my kids eventually, and all of that. So like that, you know, financially, that's my only consideration, I'd say, you know, with that. Like I don't need no mansion or anything like that. I want to just be able to continue doing what I love and not have to like, you know, there's definitely a thing within the artistic community where it's like you kind of sometimes have to make a choice whether you're going to pursue projects based on what they pay, you know, like based on financial stability, or you know, pursue things based on, you know, what really speaks to you and what you resonate with. And I think one of the biggest blessings as I become, you know, more notable or whatever, you know, as more people have seen my work, I'm getting to put more of the focus. I'm getting to choose projects based on what they mean to me, more than just like, you know, what they're going to do for me financially or for me career wise. So that's you know, something I'm so grateful for, and that's my goal, is just to continue to pursue things that really matter to me.
Right. And I thought of this the other day too, even just for myself, where I was kind of thinking like, man, if this was my ceiling right now, you know, I would be content and I would be fulfilled, and I would feel like I reached success. And you definitely have to probably feel the same way.
Oh,
it's a really good feeling.
It's such a good feeling, man. Like, to just sit there and like to just be able to look at your life and look at where you've been and how far you've come, and it's to say, you know, I'm proud and I'm happy. Like if this is it, then like this is it, and I'm all right with that. Like, God, it's such a good feeling, and I'm so glad that, you know, you're feeling that too, brother.
So I got asked this question the other day, and I thought it was a super, super interesting question.
Mm-hmm.
If you had no responsibilities for the day, your schedule is free. You literally have
Right.
Alexa is not saying, "Hey, we got to do this today." Everything you have totally the day for yourself. What do you do with that day?
Well, I'm getting to answer that question on a daily basis right now.
Right. That's
just shut down. You know what I'm saying? Like, but yeah, I would.
It's a tough one. It's a really tough one.
It's a tough one, right? I mean, like, so first and foremost, like, for instance, when I was doing Hamilton, I got one day off a week because, it was a Lin-Manuel set up in the beginning that Hamilton was the only character that only did 7 out of 8 shows. So we had one day off, one extra day off. And so I would always on that day, like I would try and keep my schedule as clear as possible. And I would literally just veg out, you know what I'm saying? I would like sit down. I wouldn't talk, talk as little as possible. I would watch like trash TV or like watch some movies, play some video games maybe. And so like that, I think for the last 3 years has kind of been what I've done with my free time. But now, it's like, it's kind of one day after another where it's make my own schedule. And so it's like, I got the rest done now, it's like, I've rested, I've recuperated, I've done all that. And now it's like, how do I want to fill my day? So yeah, I mean, I've been, I got a Nintendo Switch.
There you go.
I've been doing Mario Kart, and I just got playing that. But I'm also like I've been setting up to do like to teach some online classes with like high school students.
I saw that on your story.
Yeah,
wow.
And yeah, exactly. Yeah, that thing that I'm doing with them that's Self-Tape for the Soul, where students like who had their shows canceled and stuff can record themselves performing things, and then they get linked up with an industry professional or a casting director or something like that, and we give them feedback. So that's one thing I'm doing. I'm working with this company called Boom, which is Broadway official online master classes. And so that's another thing where it's like, a bunch of Broadway people are like teaching classes online and stuff. So it's like, that's primarily where I'm putting my energy right now, is just trying to like find ways to stay creative and to give back and to like, stay connected to up and coming artists and stuff like that. So, I think I'm on a tangent. I don't know if that answered your question.
No, not at all. I mean, that's cool. I mean, because that's even when I asked you too, like what projects do you have coming up? That's some really cool projects.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
What about you, Justin? What's your answer to that question?
Listen to podcasts, honestly. Just like chill out, read books.
Yeah, so mine is definitely movies. Dude, I would just watch movies like all day.
I feel like
how has screen time been for y'all? Because I saw this one meme online. It was saying how like in normal society without COVID, everyone's on their phones all the time. But now that, social distancing is a thing, everyone's going on hikes and, going outside and stuff.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about that?
It's been crazy. I mean, because being out here in Vermont, like one of the reasons we came out here is because there's a lot of hikes and a lot of, places to go outdoor. But it's like every time we go on a hike, I am blown away by how packed it is. Like that's where everyone's at.
It's impossible to keep 6 feet, right?
Right. It is.
Yeah.
It's like the outdoors is the new like club or something like that. Like that's the place to be, which I think is really, really dope, to be honest. Like, if there's a lining to be found in all of this, I think it's that it's forcing us all to get out a little bit more and to, connect with each other on a deeper level, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So my screen time, since I'm always, talking to people all day, I'm always on the computer. I'm always, doing stuff like that.
Right.
I don't even want to share with you guys what my screen time is.
Right.
It's horrible. It's horrible. So,
are you keeping track on the phone? Do you have the?
Yeah, no. Like when I see my screen time, dude, it's pretty bad because I'm just always having to text people. I'm always calling people, just looking up, different whatever properties or emails on my phone all day, and then on the computer. So, dude, it's like
if I'm not outside, which to be honest is only about an hour and a half a day.
Yeah.
Which is decent, but it's like I'm on my computer, I'm emailing people, I'm FaceTiming, I'm doing things like this. So yeah, it's definitely intense.
Right. All right. So we always love to end the podcast with this question. If you were to go back in time and give young Austin one piece of advice, what would that advice be?
I would say just keep your eyes on your own paper, basically. Like, look, just don't peek over into other people's lanes so much. Just kind of stay on your own path. Don't try not to compare, or say, oh, this person is farther along than me, and why am I not there? Because at the end of the day, we all have our own journeys, we all have our own paths, and another comment that I have about social media and just like comparing yourself to others in your industry in general is like, a lot of times you're comparing I saw this quote somewhere, but it says like, don't compare your behind the scenes to somebody else's highlight reel.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, and that's what a lot of social media is. It's like, we're choosing our most, joyous and successful moments to post. And, so it's important, I think, to keep in mind that it's like, there's always a lot going on behind the scenes. When you see quote unquote success, or you see somebody at the top, you have no idea what it took to get there, or what's going on behind the scenes, stuff like that. So I know that's something that I'm learning, and I'm trying to grow with. And I think that's, to have known that at an earlier time would have definitely caused me a lot of anguish.
It's a super hard habit to break. I mean, we all have it. We all see it. I mean, and social media, it does suck because it's all smoke and mirrors. And, even with me, there's so many losses I've taken that I don't want to share on social media because,
of course.
You know what I mean? It just is what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, hey, you have been amazing. I wish we could keep talking for another hour.
Really great. Really great.
So much fun.
Of course.
Would love to come back if it ever is in the cards.
Oh yeah, we'll have a reboot after some so you can share those big.
That was good. Yeah, thank y'all so much for having me on. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah. What is up, guys? Thank you so much for tuning in to the All Things Success podcast show. If you made it this far, Austin was a great guest to have on the show this week. If you want to get a hold of Austin, maybe shoot him a DM or just see some of his work. His Instagram handle is AustinScott93. If you also know anybody who might be a good fit for our show, go ahead and head to our Instagram at the All Things Success podcast and shoot us a DM. Our email is also linked there, so you can message us either way. We're going to be dropping podcasts every week, so if you take a liking to this, go ahead and subscribe. We are on Apple, we are on Spotify, and YouTube. Hope you have a great week, guys, and we will see you on the next one.